Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we discuss day-to-day problems people face in their lives. Let's start with the video. I grew up with a loving, caring, and highly religious family. They've always been delicate when it comes to the way I'm treated. They cared to clothe, feed, entertain, and educate me to the best of their abilities. It's a thing that I've always been extremely grateful for and that I constantly put effort into showing back. I speak of my interactions with my family in a transactional way because I know I'm adopted. I came across a file when I was a lot younger that had my adoptive parents' signatures on a paper that read adoption papers in bold and had my first name written on it repeatedly, which could only indicate one thing that even my then young mind could unlock. I was adopted. I'm pretty sure I came across it when I was looking for my dad's old school project so I could reference it. The reason I clarify this is to say that I'm not a snoopy person. I don't really go out looking for things that don't involve me, yet I happen to attract the most dangerous and life-changing information in the strangest karmic ways. Another would be a note attached to a letter I found once again when I was packing my belongings to move to college dorms. A couple weeks back, my mother had come into my room almost in tears, asking to talk about something which seemed urgent. She looked at me with the saddest expression on her face for a moment before quieting down and pacing around the room seemingly pointlessly. She hugged me, apologized for coming into my room so late in the evening, and then escorted herself outside without uttering a single word regarding what she came into my room to speak of. I noticed that before she left, something fell off the side of her pajamas. Her PJs had no pockets, so I assumed it was held by the elasticity of the pants. I meant to give it to her in the morning, as it was really late and I was already cozied up underneath my blanket. But it slipped off my mind again the next day, and I never got to look for it, nor did I give it back to my mother. Although now, I can't really tell if I wish I had remembered who it belonged to or given it back to my mother before reading it or not. I can't really know if I want to live the rest of my life knowing what the note contained, or if it would have been better if I had been left comforted by the sweet, sweet bliss of ignorance. As I mentioned, I came across the note when I was packing my things and opened it before realizing it didn't belong to me. What I found on it confused and riddled me. It was in the form of a letter, only it was a lot shorter than the average letter, and it was very old. It dated back to a few days after my birthday, as in the day I was born. It was signed by Amelia. Amelia cursed Jacob for having, and I quote, done what a devil could never do to her. She begged to be left out of Jacob's life. She prayed that the child remains as far away from her as possible, hoped the child grows up with far better morals than those of Jacob's, and she asked the Lord to keep her on the righteous path of good and religion, and she prayed to God never to see Jacob ever again. I was puzzled by what I was reading. For a moment, it felt extraordinarily surreal. It immediately drifted me back to the day I came across my adoption papers. Back then, the only difference was that I stopped reading the adoption papers as soon as I found them, partially because I didn't understand them and wholly because they didn't belong to me. This time, however, my curiosity was a lot easier to alert. The contents of this letter seemed a lot more sinister, as the only Jacob in my or my mother's life is my dad. The only Amelia known to me is his second cousin. So if I'm mildly not stupid, I put two and two together immediately as anxiety built up inside me and the need to vomit intensified once I reread it. I rushed over to my mother with the letter in hand and apologized for having opened it. I genuinely didn't remember that it slipped off her until I was done reading it, to which she was understanding, although I could have easily confused her understanding with relief. Since the moment I let her know that I read it, her face squirmed with an expression of a mind at ease. Her eyes relaxed and a smile drew itself on her face. Relief, right? I would have left it at that if she hadn't started crying immediately after. I was confused and allowed her a moment to let it all out before she finally could muster the energy to explain. To this day, I can't tell if telling me was a good idea or not. My mother explained to me that 19 years ago, my father was a completely different man. To put it in simple words, he is a He wrote his second cousin, Amelia, confirming my assumption, and I resulted from that gruesome behavior. I felt my world collapse around me as my mother spoke the details of that event. I couldn't have been less interested in my mom's words as my mind frantically uncovered the terrors of dad's actions and the monstrous nature which is the foundation of my life. The disgraceful nature on which my whole world is built. The deception and secrecy and distrust that my life was brought into the world as a result of. I was having constant flashes of when my cousin Amelia, or mother, I can't really tell where she stands now, but I remember the saddened expression that spread across her face when she saw me around her own kids. I really do not know how to feel about things, partially because I'm too young to understand the full depth of what happened, and also because everything changed. My dad is not the person that would someone, as far as I can tell anyway. He really does care about the entire family, and he's very supportive of everyone. He's constantly helping and volunteering to do good, and his faith is the strongest that I've ever seen. Maybe the realization of what he had done or having to raise the child that resulted from his terrible actions led him to seek out being a better man. Maybe the guilt of possibly ruining a poor woman's life led him to want to fix as many as he could. Whatever it is, it all started from something unforgivable, something which will never allow me to view him the same. Maybe I'm overreacting and dramatizing things, and maybe I'm underestimating the sheer enormous influence that this will have on my life. Whatever it is, I'm grateful this realization happened hours before I moved out. It'll give me the liberty and clarity of mind to think through my next step. Whether I want to get my biological mother more involved in my life or if I want to bring up the topic with her. Ever. I just hope Amelia has found a healthy way to cope with things and my dad really has changed. Yet, it still disgusts and terrifies me that a man of my dad's grace and love and care could be capable of such horrendous acts. Honestly, I found out I was adopted not too long ago, and I'm still trying to figure out a way to deal with things and understand that it's not automatically a bad thing. The thing I'm struggling with the most is understanding that my family members aren't bad people for keeping it away from me for so long. Props to you for staying strong. I can't even imagine what it must be like to find out something so life-altering. I'm really sorry to hear about everything you're going through. Your story touches so many social aspects, adoption, religion, and so on. I don't really know if the mother wanted to keep you in the first place, but I'm assuming her strong faith and relationship with God is what kept her from abortion. Honestly, maybe religion shouldn't have been taken into consideration since she seems to hate your dad's bones and does not want to mother you even after you were born. Whatever it is, I just want you to know that there's always a solution to cope with things and handle them. Just make sure it's healthy and not a destructive one. Plenty of other people and I are very proud of you and rooting for your life to be an amazing one. When you see how this person is a whole existing soul and the way she grew up to become a healthy adult really makes you question abortion. I guess it makes sense that if she hadn't been born, she wouldn't be dealing with all of this. But she'll come out of it stronger, better person, seeing that she has a good support system and a good upbringing. It is a double-edged sword anyway. I'm very sorry to hear your story and I hope you're doing better by now. Stay strong because I believe in you and believe in your ability to overcome anything. Wow, the cousin is so strong for still coming back to see you and introduce you to your biological siblings. Maybe it's because she wanted a child and especially you, seeing that you seem like a good person and have your priorities set, but how you were brought into the world kept her from seeking a motherly relationship with you or confessing to you about what happened. Next story. I, 26 male, have been with my girlfriend, 21, for 3 months. She comes to my house at least 3 or 4 times a week. A few days ago, she came over, but asked if she could bring her sister, who's 11 years old, with her. I said that it was fine. They arrived and it was chill, except for some reason the sister was wandering around my house, room by room. I told her not to go in my bedroom or my game room. She said okay. My girlfriend asked if her sister could come again the next day. I was cool with it. It didn't bother me. Again, they came and she started wandering, but this time I heard my game room door open. It has a loud creak to it. I get up and she's in there. Now, my game room is pretty messy. Lots of empty Tupperware containers and empty bottles of water and drinks. Also, lots of books about gaming scattered around. She starts saying, "Wow, this is messy." I say, "Yes, I know, sorry for the mess." She keeps repeating, "Wow, you have a huge mess." I say, "Yeah, that's why the door was closed." She keeps talking about how messy the room was. Now I'm getting annoyed and I'm trying to ignore her. My girlfriend tells her to stop. She keeps going and they eventually leave, but with my girlfriend scolding her and apologizing to me. The next day, she texts me to come over and say yes. She says her mom was at work and if her sister could tag along. I say sure, but to tell her not to wander my house. We're chilling at my house until we get hungry and I order pizza for lunch. I go pick it up and leave them at my house since it was pretty close. I come back and the sister is in my game room tidying things up. She's closed a lot of the books I didn't bookmark and moved a lot of my notes around. She also threw away a lot of Tupperware containers I was going to reuse. Now I'm pissed but trying to stay calm. I tell her to get out but in a harsh tone. I guess she didn't get why I was mad. Then she came saying in a single song voice, "I cleaned up the mess." I asked my girlfriend why she let her sister wander my house and she said she didn't think it was a problem because my game room was untidy. I tell her, "Hey, look, don't bring your sister over here anymore." She says, "Wow, that's real mature." She then got her sister and left and she texted me saying that it was really rude what I did. I think I was nice about it, but eventually I started to feel bad. But am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She is 11. She's old enough to understand that when you told her not to go in my bedroom or my game room, she was not to go into your bedroom or game room. Your girlfriend did not think it was a problem for her to go into your game room because it was untidy. What? So it was okay for her 11-year-old sister to take it upon herself to tidy up your room, your house, your rules. If anyone has a problem being immature here, it is your girlfriend. Thankfully, you have only wasted 3 months of your life on this relationship. Not the a-hole. Your girlfriend was wrong by letting her sister enter your game room, knowing that you didn't want her in there. I can't really get upset at the 11-year-old. She's just a child and probably thought she was helping you. But her older sister knew you didn't want her in there. The girlfriend is the rude one here. OP showed great restraint. Much better than I would have if someone went messing with my craft room. Your girlfriend should have kept her sister out of your game room. Although 11 years is a young age, it's an age where a kid should be old enough to understand that personal things or items should not be touched without consent. It sounds like your girlfriend needs to grow up and start respecting your feelings. Just keep in mind, if this continues, ask yourself if this relationship is really worth it. Not the a-hole, because those were your boundaries. However, to you, the containers are empty. To vermin, they're banquet. It's seriously gross to not clean that mess as you make it, even if it's the next day. Guaranteed you already have roach eggs somewhere. Fun fact, cockroaches love living and breeding inside gaming consoles because of how warm they are. Keeping that room clean protects your hobby investments. Obviously, your girlfriend doesn't respect you. That would be a huge red flag for me, especially since you've only been dating for 3 months. As a woman only having a boyfriend for 3 months that I probably do not know fully, there's no way I would let my 11-year-old sister wander around his house. Most importantly, not where he said it's off limits. For all I know, that's where his porn is stashed or something else that's inappropriate for an 11-year-old to see. Your feelings are justified. After little sis is done with your gaming room, who says she's not going to move on to your bedroom? Next story. Hello all. I, 24 female, suffer from celiac disease and have for several years. I cannot digest food with gluten in it, and exposure to even the tiniest amount of it makes me violently sick. This is important to the story as I'm the only person in the entire extended family who has it. Every year since I was little, my mother hosted Thanksgiving. My stepfather has a son from his previous marriage, 35 male, who was not around much when I was a kid. His mother, so my stepdad's ex-wife, had most custody, so I saw Peter about once a month at most. Peter has a new girlfriend, Hannah, 32 female, who he brought around for Thanksgiving. My mother made almost entirely gluten-free dishes and labeled everything for me and others to limit cross-contamination. The only one non-gluten-free dish was stuffing. She had always done this because she wants to keep me safe. For our other family gatherings that she doesn't host, my family usually forgets about my celiac, which is okay. I can stick to salad for a night, no problem. However, I do struggle with some anxiety and shame. I hate feeling like I'm inconveniencing my mother. I don't live at home and I was diagnosed with celiac after leaving the nest, so she only cooks gluten-free when I'm visiting, and I know firsthand how much harder it is. So like every year I helped her with the gluten-free dishes. We did not have Thanksgiving last year and we only invited family we knew was fully vaccinated to this gathering. Here's the problem. Hannah very loudly complained to one of my cousins about all this gluten-free crap. She knows I have celiac disease because she asked me why I wasn't eating the cake at my stepfather's birthday party this summer, store-bought, and I explained my allergy and answered her questions. My cousin told her politely, well, Megan is allergic. I'm Megan. And Hannah again said loudly, well, she doesn't have the right to ruin our Thanksgiving because of it. I don't care if she doesn't like me, but I found that deeply hurtful, as this is the one family holiday where I get to eat most of the food because it's my mother making food. And more importantly, I thought calling my mother's days of hard work crap was very rude. However, because over half the family was there, anti-vaxxers not invited, and she's new, I decided to wait and not call her out in front of everyone. But my mother was visibly offended and I had to console her. We're going to see her again today because we're celebrating Hanukkah. I'm debating pulling her aside and asking her to apologize to me and my mom. I think I might be an a-hole if I do so though, because she may have forgotten this and I don't want to divide my relationship with my stepbrother. Is asking for an apology justified, or will I be the a-hole? Not the a-hole, especially if you're asking for an apology for your mother. Besides, not that many Thanksgiving foods are super gluten heavy. It seems like a pretty easy holiday to ungluten. Unrelated, I'd recommend never eating anything Hannah makes. She seems like the type to test your allergy. Have a happy Hanukkah full of joy, light, and gluten-free latkes. Thanks so much, and you are correct. What my mom modded was gluten-free apple pie crust, cornbread instead of regular rolls, gluten-free mac and cheese, and making gluten-free cookies. Most of these fixes are easy, as you can purchase gluten-free mac and cheese noodles in a box at the store. Cornbread is naturally gluten-free, and the pie crust is a switch from regular to almond flavor. Even still, she worked her ace off for that Thanksgiving spread. You will not be the a-hole, but I'll warn you now that it's probably not going to go well. Hannah clearly has no manners or compassion. If she felt comfortable complaining loudly that someone's life-altering medical issue is somehow ruining her Thanksgiving. So I wouldn't expect her to react well to being asked to apologize for referring to your mother's gluten-free food as crap. I'd suggest encouraging your mother to tell your stepbrother that his sister insulted her and isn't welcome at family gatherings until she apologizes. You will not be the a-hole. She is a guest. It's not her family or her place to say anything. Pull her aside and be firm. Let her know that her rude comment about gluten-free crap was offensive and she owes you and your mother an apology. If she decides not to give you one, let her know that you will not tolerate another comment and will call her out next time so she can feel as embarrassed as she made you and your mother feel and walk away from her. You have nothing to feel guilty about or feel embarrassed about. Your mother sounds like a saint and is trying to accommodate you because she loves you. She does this because she cares about you and she has learned about your allergy and learned how to cook a certain way to ensure you feel welcome and included. If Hannah makes another public comment after you pull her aside, I would publicly let her know that if she's not happy to eat what your mother has cooked, she is more than welcome to leave. She's a guest and her rude comments will not be tolerated. She sounds very childish.